All right, I'm gonna have Randall kick it off this morning for a little bit. We're gonna talk about some changes within ProjectWise, and then we're also going to talk about the MicroStation platform portion of it. Kind of show you what's new, what's kind of changed, and also some of the couple new workflows and so forth with that. A lot of the stuff you've seen through our WebExes that were out there. We kind of gave you some demos of stuff that's changing, so we'll kind of go over that. Some of those changes that kind of incorporate that inside of ORD and some of the new stuff. So, Randall, if you want to start the PowerPoint, I'll let you do that ProjectWise section of it, and then I'll go over the some of the stuff that changed within ProjectWise.
Can you see the screen? You can or can't?
Sorry.
Yes.
I can.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I'll just go ahead and go to the next slide. These first few slides, we're just going to be talking about ProjectWise, and then Chad's going to go in and show you some of the ProjectWise stuff. So the big change is we have a new data source. You guys have gotten in it this morning. We haven't really worked with it yet. We now have 7 districts in there instead of 10, so we're using the Northwest and Northeast and Kansas City designations like that now. So we're using those. And then the new data source is only going to contain Open Roads Designer projects. So new projects that are being created with Open Roads Designer are going to be in this data source. If you're still working with SS10 projects, they are going to be in the old electronic plans data source. Or if you have a project that you want converted from SS10, we can put that in this data source as well. And Chad will go over some of the stuff inside of the data source here a little bit later. The next slide, the standards and seed files. CAD Standards has a new structure, and it's buried down in there pretty deep. It's under Documents, CAD Standards, ORD Standards, Connect Config, Workspaces, modap, and Standards. And in there you can see some of the seed files have been reorganized and renamed. We do now have the XWMS files that can be stored in ProjectWise, so our imagery files that we use to pull up imagery are now stored inside of the standards folder under imagery. And Chad will be going over these a little bit too here in a minute. So the next slide. One thing ORD is doing now that, and I think we've been doing this a little bit in SS10, is autosave. The autosave option is automatically turned on in Open Roads. So when you free a document, instead of checking it in, the changes will still be saved on your local copy. So if you want the server copy, you're going to have to actually purge that local copy because it's automatically saving it all the time. So if you want that server copy, you'll have to purge it and then re-download the server copy, or reopen the file and download that server copy again. So that's just one thing you're going to have to keep in mind. You'll probably have to purge files a little bit more. Or when you get into your DGN files, I think you can turn off that autosave option if you want. Another thing that has changed in ProjectWise is the work areas. So the Start Job tool is going to be replaced within ProjectWise. Projects will already have folders set up. You can kind of see in the PowerPoint how it's set up. You're going to have a bridge folder, a roadway folder, and a survey folder. And these projects will be created by us. We'll probably have some sort of, I don't know, I think we have a ProjectWise access request now. It'll probably be kind of like that, where you request a project, we'll set it up, and then your power users will be able to go in and assign users to those projects. So that's kind of how the work areas are going to be set up. And that is it for the ProjectWise slides. So I believe Chad had a few things he wanted to go in and show you inside of ProjectWise.
Yes.
So I'm going to stop sharing.
Okay. You have stopped, and let me see if I can share my screen. Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yeah, I can see it.
Looks good.
Okay.
Whoop, whoop.
Okay. Within ProjectWise, like I said, Randall kind of went over some of the high points, and I'll kind of get into it a little bit deeper. But first things first is we have a different data source, like what Randall explained. And inside of there is where all of our standards are going to be set up. So one thing that we're using now is what they call a managed workspace within ProjectWise. So whenever you guys go through here and you open up a file, it's going to pull down all of those files that it needs for our CAD standards. And pretty much everybody has done this already. We did that yesterday or this morning, where it has to copy all that information down. But the good thing about that is, with the managed workspace, is if we change any of our seed files, like a dgnlib or cell files or something like that, once we update it within ProjectWise, the next time you open up a file, it'll actually compare and see which one is the latest and greatest. And if the one that's on your local machine is not the right version, it'll actually copy it down to get the correct version. So it makes management on our end a lot easier versus us going through there and changing it in one location, and then us going through and updating all the servers in each district. So we're kind of using a managed workspace on that, which really doesn't affect you guys very much, but it makes management on our end a lot easier. But like Randall said, we're going to have all of our ORD projects within this data source. So any new project that you create, they'll be inside of here, or if there's projects that need to be converted by us, we can convert those projects and get them into ORD so you can work with it inside of there. So first thing that you're going to see, and I'll just kind of explain what your district's kind of going to look like, and then we'll kind of go over some of the CAD standards, is if I go underneath D2 Northeast, and if you expand that out, we have it structured to where you're going to have a folder that says non-STIP projects and then one that says STIP projects. So you can kind of put those in that correct location as needed. And then if you expand that out, it's going to be broken out by what county it is. Kind of similar to the way it's set up in the electronic plans data source right now. And then the projects underneath there will be underneath whichever county. So I have one already created inside of here just for an example, and this is what it's going to look like. So if I expand this particular project out, you're going to see 3 folders or 3 work areas that's going to be set up underneath there. One for bridge, one for roadway, and one for survey. And basically our intent is on a project, we want to have all the project related data inside of that project, which is a little bit different than what we had before, especially with bridge. Bridge was kind of siloed to where they had their information in a different location versus where the roadway side of it was. So same thing for the survey portion of it. So inside of there, inside the project, everything that's related to that project will be contained inside of here. But the good thing for this is, we have permissions set up to where only bridge will be able to work with stuff underneath the bridge location. Same thing for the roadway. Everything that, if you're a highway designer or technician in whichever district, you'll have permissions depending on how it's set up. Just those individuals will have access to stuff underneath the roadway side of it. And same thing for survey. If there's only a few surveyors that are working with that project, those would be the only ones that'll actually have access to that. And the way we have permissions right now set up is we have power users in the districts, and we're probably going to kind of keep that the same. And then those power users can go through there and assign permissions, to that roadway side of it. And then, whichever designer or technician that needs access to it, those power users can add access to it. So it's kind of the same on the permissions on who adds and who removes users for the permissions. But like I said, the project, it'll just have, everything that's kind of contained with that project is going to be inside of there. So if I expand out, roadway, you're going to see just a few folders underneath there for like the data, which will have some default files that are already set up, and then a few other folders that you may want to keep, or if you want to remove those, you could. But and same thing for like the plan sheets, those are all broken out by separate folders. And like I said, you can add or subtract from here. You can add files, folders, however you want it structured, but this will be kind of like the default setup whenever we create a project. Now, like what Randall said, we will be creating the projects here at CAD Support. That way we can set up the permissions properly, and also we make sure the structure is set up the way it should be. So that'll probably be either me or Randall or Chris that'll create the project, and then after that, you guys can go through there and assign permissions and however. Okay. So I kind of want to show you that. Next thing that I'll kind of bury through here is underneath of our CAD standards. I'll kind of show you where some stuff is located at underneath there. So if I go underneath CAD standards and I go underneath ORD standards, we should see a connect config. And then underneath workspaces, modap standards. This will be where all of our standard files are located at. And these will be read-only for everybody. But this would be where you could come in here and actually copy out a file if you need to, which we may do here a little bit later on. But just to kind of let you know, this is where all of our CAD standards are set up. And for what you guys will need to kind of know is where our seed files are located at. So if you go underneath the standards folder, you're going to see this seed. And if I click on the folder, over here, it's going to show me my seed files that I'm going to use. So, of course, if you're in design, you would use these two seed files right here, whether it's a 2D file or a 3D file. If you're in Bridge, you'd use these right here. You also see some other folders underneath there. So if I expand this out and I go to Bridge, we're going to see some Bridge standard files underneath there. Same thing for design. If I go to design, you're going to see some files that you may want to utilize for like the contract leveling courses, seal code plans. You may need to copy out that data set and put it to your project. Same thing for the county maps. All those are located underneath there. Job order. I can't speak right now. Job order contracting. Those files are underneath there. If you look underneath miscellaneous, this will be kind of some of the miscellaneous files that would probably more commonly get used on a set of projects for like your title sheet or your summary quantities. The summary quantities Excel sheet, it's also located underneath there, so you can copy it down from there and so forth. So this would kind of be an area where you'd kind of look at to possibly grab a seed file and copy that to your particular project. Okay, so I kind of wanted to show you that. Let's see. That's pretty much it on that portion of it. Other than that, the ProjectWise side of it, it pretty much works exactly the same. It's just the two main things for you guys is, number one, how the projects get created, we're going to create the projects, and then once it's done, you guys would assign permissions to it accordingly. And then number 2, where our CAD files are located at, our standard files. And this would be the location of where you'd find your standard files. So if everybody wants to right now, go ahead and get to this location, because we're going to do something for class purposes. I'll give everybody about a minute or so to do that. All right. So if everybody's there, if somebody's not, let me know now. Going once, going twice. All right. What we're going to do is actually take this seed file right here, the modap design seed file, this 2D one, and we're going to copy it and we're going to put it inside of our project. So let's go ahead and right click over it and let's do a copy. And then if I scroll down, and I think everybody's already been to this location, but if you go to the training sandbox, and we will go to Northeast, and we will go to projects. And what I want you to do is expand out your project. I'm going to use the one that says instructor. And then we will go to roadway. And we'll go to plan sheets. And let's go ahead and select the O2 typical section. We got some files underneath there that we're going to utilize a little bit later on for doing the name boundary portion of it and maybe the sheet indexing. So we'll just kind of use this as a central location. And let's go over this area right in here. And let's go ahead and right click over it and do a paste. And it should prompt you, do you want to copy this here? Of course I do, so I'll select yes. And now we have that seed file placed inside there. Now you can do it that way, or if you're within, one of these files and you want to go up there and do a, file save or do a file open and copy it from within project or within ORD, you can do it that way too. So either or is fine. And then once you have that file inside of here, let's go ahead and double left click on that file to open it up.
Hey, Chad, there's a couple comments out there. Gail doesn't have any. Yeah.
I don't have files in that folder. Well, let's take a look. This should be. What about everybody else? Did I miss that one? I must have missed that one. Sorry about that, Gail. Let me go ahead and copy those down to there.
Seems like Gail had issues yesterday too.
Yeah, he was the one that.
There's always one person, so.
Yep. Let's copy that. Oops, not Chris. Let's go to. And let's do a paste. Okay, Gail, you should have it now.
You may have to hit F5.
Yeah.
Yep, they're there now. Thanks.
No problem. Sorry about that.
Not a problem.
Okay. And then once we get into it, this is what it's going to look like. And I will let Randall take over on this portion of it, and he'll kind of explain, kind of how ORD is set up, kind of like the interface, how the ribbons are set up, and a few other things with that. So, Randall, do you want me to close out this file and you get into it?
Well, I didn't know if you wanted to do the cleanup tool.
Yeah, I did totally forget about that.
It's up to you.
Yeah, I totally forgot. Yeah, it probably wouldn't hurt. Okay, so let's do this. You guys have got into this yesterday. Let's go ahead and close out of ORD. Kind of jumped ahead there a little bit. And everybody should be familiar with this right here. We can either check it in or free it. If I want to check it in to save my changes, I'll just check it in. Of course, I didn't do anything to it, but if I'm checking it in, I'm just saving the changes that I've done to it. Within ORD, we have a different cleanup tool that you'll be utilizing versus the one that you'd use through Power Geopack. And as of right now, we have this particular cleanup tool located on the R drive. Now, this may change as we start to push it out to other districts, but at least for right now, this is where it's located at. So if you want to copy this to your desktop, or you could run it from the R drive, either or is fine. So just to kind of show you where that's at, if you go to Windows Explorer, not ProjectWise Explorer, if you go to Windows Explorer, and then inside there, go to the R drive. And everybody's R drive should be mapped to either this location or there's another location, but if you change one or something to the other one, they should replicate each other. So we should be good to go with that. But as long as you got your R drive mapped, you can click on that. And underneath this folder right here that says CAD, go ahead and double left click on it. And then there's an Open Roads Designer folder underneath there. Go ahead and click on it, or double left click on it. And then go and open up the cleanup folder. And underneath there, you should see this right here, this shortcut. You can actually right click over that, and you should be able to send that to your desktop. And mine's already on my desktop right here. So I can either run it from here, or I could go inside of here and double left click it from the R drive also. So let's go ahead and run that cleanup tool. So I'll double left click on it. Now kind of show you what it's going to do. It's going to unload the Bentley processes and reset your user preferences to the mode defaults. Press any key to continue. I will go ahead and accept it. And you see that it went through there and basically cleaned up ORD. So very similar to like the Power Geopack cleanup tool, this one will be used for ORD, where it copies the preference files and so forth that we have set up by default. That way, whenever you utilize ORD, everything's going to be the same.
Hey, Chad,
Yep.
Mary does not have an R drive. Can you show her how to map that R drive?
Sure. if you go up and click on this right here where it says, for you, it'd be NEHA and then whichever your tag number is on your machine inside of Windows Explorer. If you click on that,
Okay.
there should be an option up here at the top underneath the computer tab that says Map Network Drive. And if you click on that, you're going to have a drive and a folder. And this is going to be the example of what you could put inside the folder, which is the server and share. The first thing that you would do is come up here and change your letter drive to R.
Okay.
And then inside of here, just put in the 2 backslashes. And then the server is GHData02.
Okay.
And then the backslash be DE apps. So that's all that you're doing there. If it should automatically on your login script, it should automatically do it, but for some reason,
What's the last part? I'm sorry, my font is so small I can't see what that says.
DE apps, DEAPPS.
Okay. All right, I've got that.
Yep. And then there should be a toggle there that says reconnect at sign in.
Okay.
Make sure that's toggled on.
Okay.
And then after that, go ahead and click on finish.
Okay. There it is. Thank you.
Okay. And then, of course, this is where it's located at. Underneath CAD, Open Roads Designer, Cleanup.
Okay.
Like I said, you can run it from here. You can run the shortcut from here, or you can, like for me, I copied it out to my desktop right here, so I don't have to go and find this location every single time. Like I said, it's pretty quick. If I click on it again, it'll go through there, delete the files that it needs to, copy out the files that it needs to. Then the next time you open up ORD, everything should be pretty well cleaned up for your preferences and so forth. Now let's get back into ProjectWise. And then we would go back to your project and go underneath O2 typical section. And let's go ahead and open up this one here again, this modap design C2D. Thanks for reminding me about that, Randall.
No problem. So, do you want, after I do the slides, do you just want to share your screen and I'll talk you through the stuff, or do you want me to open it
That'd
up?
be fine.
Okay. Since you have it open.
Yeah.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay.
We'll see how this works the first time, and then the next class, if we have to adjust, we can always adjust it.
I will go ahead and share my screen again real quick. So can you see the PowerPoint again?
Yes, I can.
All right. So the big change in the ORD work area is going to be the ribbon-based interface. It's going to look a whole lot different. The first thing on here is the File tab. You can see that number 1. Basically, that opens the Backstage, and what that contains is a lot of your settings and how to manage your file. I think you can pick a new file from there. You can import files and so on. And we'll go through this as soon as I'm done with a few slides. Number 2 is the Quick Access Toolbar. It contains kind of your workflows, and then where you can save and open new files. And there's also we have a modap miscellaneous tool pull down in there as well, and we'll show you that. And 3 just points to the other tabs. So like where you see home, view, annotate, attach, those are all tabs that open up like the groups, like number 4, which has primary there. So those tabs will open up different groups, and each tab can contain one group, or it could contain 5 or 6 groups. It just kind of depends on that tab and what's inside of there. And each group has a set of tools that should be related to that group. And then number 5, you have your search ribbon, and we'll go over that. Basically, if you need to find a tool and you don't know where it's located at in here, especially starting out when you start using these ribbons, that search tool comes in pretty handy. Some of the other ones, 6 is your sign-in glyph. It just shows that you're a connected user. Of course, number 7 is that question mark. It's the help menu. And then number 8 over there to the side is kind of your minimize. It'll minimize the ribbon if you click on that. And we can show you that here in a second as well. So that's kind of the ribbon, and we'll go through some of this stuff once we get into the drawing. We'll go to the next slide. It's just a few little tips on using the search ribbon. So if I would search on something, it looks like here I'm searching on clip. If you hover over it, I believe it'll show you where all the tools are located. And then if you actually select on the clip, it'll actually take you to that tool, or it'll actually open that tool. I'm sorry. And we'll show you that here in a second. The search ribbon. And then here is just a little screenshot of some of the workflows you can use. We have quite a few in here, depending on what you're wanting to do. Basically, a workflow can consist of one or more tasks, and that workflow would be used to complete some sort of a task or a project. And each tab will have a ribbon that contains the tools you would need to complete that task. So we'll go through the workflows here in a minute. And of course, one of the workflows is the modap CAD Detailing Standards workflow. So instead of the tasks toolbar, we'll be using a workflow to get to our CAD Detailing Standards. And hopefully we'll have a few minutes to go in there and show you where some of the actual different CAD standards are located. Of course, it's broken out into 3 different ribbons. You'll have a bridge ribbon, and you guys will be probably messing with the design and survey ribbon today. And then each ribbon is broken into groups to make it easier for you to find what you're wanting to do. And then I talked about this one. This is the modap miscellaneous pull down. It's a custom tool that Chad has created that basically it consists of a lot of the same tools that the modap main toolbar used to use. Just a quick way to let you access some of the tools without switching workflows. And then down at the bottom of this one under miscellaneous apps, I believe that's where you go in and turn on like Auto Turn and Taurus and Excel to Open Roads Designer if you're going to use any of those applications. And then Chad's going to do these a little bit later, so I will skip these for now and we'll go in and look at the ribbon and stuff now. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and Chad can share his screen.
Hey, Randall, you mentioned Taurus. What is that? Is that what program is that? Is that the or Shannon would know that. So.
That's one of Shannon's programs.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a Roundabout Assistant program.
Yeah.
You can design roundabouts in it and create geometry for you. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, do you want to share your
Yep, getting ready to.
Maybe have CAD update meeting.
Okay, can you see it now? Yeah, we got a meeting coming up.
I can see it. So I'm going to have Chad go ahead and real quick go to the File tab so I can show you the Backstage real quick. So up there in the corner, of course, this is where you can open a new file or save a new file, any of those settings. The big one you'd probably want to look at are under the settings. If he clicks on settings, of course, you have your user settings, which there's probably not a whole lot in there. You'll mess with maybe some of the function keys. If you select the function keys, there's probably a few that are already set up in there. You could change those if you want. We're not going to mess with those today.
Yeah, we got these already set up.
Yeah.
Pretty much by default, so they're pretty much about the same as what they were in Power Geopack. There may be a few that are different, but we will have a sheet that will we'll have a manual that you can print out here in the very near future, either today or tomorrow, and it'll actually have all these function keys and basically what they do. So.
Another one you might mess with are the button assignments. If you change your button assignments, you can change your middle mouse button to do whatever you want. That's another one you might mess with. And then, I don't know, preferences. If he goes to the preferences one, if he clicks on that one, this is where you can change the look of what your Open Roads designer looks like. I know some people like bigger icons, so that would probably be under look and feel, possibly. You change your icon size there if you need to. And there's a few other. It's pretty much the same as in SS10. Once you get into the preferences, most of those are pretty much the same. Another thing you can do is if he opens up the toolboxes, if there's a toolbox you used to use quite a bit, I don't know if maybe I do a lot of imagery stuff. If I wanted to open the geographic toolbox, you can go down and find the geographic. Should be in there somewhere. There it is. If he checks on that one, of course, it's going to open that toolbox, and then I can dock it wherever I want, down at the bottom or at the top, or on the side. But you can open some of those old toolboxes if you used them a lot. That's something you need to do. And if he goes back to the file again, you probably won't mess with the system settings. There are a few under the file settings, I believe, that you used to use, like the design file settings where you can change your coordinate readouts. I believe that's under the design file settings. Yeah, you can change your angle readout, your active scale, some of the civil formatting. That's where you would get those. So that's kind of what the File tab does. It just has your settings, and you can create new files. And then, of course, depending on what you're wanting to do, if we want to just come out here and draw a line, I may want to have Chad change my workflow from Open Roads modeling to maybe just the drawing workflow. So I could just select whatever workflow I want to use. I'm going to go to drawing. Of course, you can see it. Once you pick a workflow, you're going to get a bunch of different tabs. Home through help. If he switches to another workflow, he switches to survey. Some of the tabs will be the same. It might have some of the same tools, but it also might have some different tools. So just depending on what you're wanting to do, which workflow you pick, it's going to have different tabs under there. And let's say I want to go out there and let's place a line between points. And I don't know where that tool is. If Chad scoots over the very top where it says that search ribbon, if he just clicks inside of there and starts typing what tool he's looking for, so if he wants a line between points, just start typing. I think it's just, is it place line? I think it's line between. Yeah. So you can see once he starts typing that, it's gonna show up with all the tools that have what he's typing. If he hovers over that, you can see it's going to tell you and show you the different workflows that it's under. If he selects one, it's going to actually go to that workflow. Of course, you can see it opened the tab geometry, and it's going to be under the horizontal group and under lines. Of course,
Now this would be a civil line, not just a MicroStation line for this example here.
Right. I was just picking one.
Yep.
So,
okay.
But if you actually want to open that tool, if he goes back over to the search ribbon, and he selects it again, but he selects that top option, it's actually going to open the tool for him. So then he can go through and do whatever he needs to do. So that's one way to search for a tool if you don't know under which workflow and which tab it might be under. It's a really easy way to find a tool. Pretty much every workflow is going to have that home, that very first tab called home, and that'll have your level, color, style, and weight in it most all of the time, and some of your primary tools. So that home tab is going to be really similar under a lot of the different workflows. And so will your view, if you have a view tab. So basically that's how you kind of navigate the different workflows. I mean, we're not going to go through a lot of these tools, but the one we did want to show is if he wants to open up the CAD Detailing Standards workflow. He wants to go ahead and select that one.
Before you get to that deep, these workflows through here, we haven't modified these hardly any from what is provided by default through the package, because we want to try to as much as possible keep the customization down to a minimum. So most of these, actually all of these workflows that are underneath here, minus the one that Randall's going to show you, these are pretty much all set up out of the box. Now we could have went in here and actually created a workflow and modified these to get the exact tools that we wanted to show within the ribbons or the tools through here, but we didn't feel that was necessary. It has all the tools that you guys need for production, depending on which workflow that you're doing, whether it's survey or just MicroStation drawing, or if you're doing open roads, if you're doing the civil side of it, it has all the tools inside of here. It's just a matter of where it's located at is going to be different than what you're accustomed to seeing within Power Geopack currently.
Yeah, it's just going to take some time to get used to.
Yep. Okay, I'll be quiet now.
Oh, you're fine. So I'm going to have him go ahead and select the modap CAD Detailing Standards workflow. Once he does that, you can see you're going to have 3 different tabs or 3 different ribbons. You're going to have the bridge, design, and survey. For right now, I'm just going to have him go select the design one. And it may look different on your screen. For some reason, his groups are showing real small. I think maybe because of the size of the screen right now.
It's the size of my monitor. I mean, if I expand it out, it'll actually, if I make this big enough, it all depends on the size of the monitor.
Yeah.
So, but you'll still get the same concept.
Right. So it looks like he picked. Yeah. So like he's got his A, which is all of his annotations. So if he wanted to go out there and place some text, of course, you'd probably go into the general annotation. Of course, there's that little down arrow he can select. And it's going to pop open all the different tasks for placing the annotation. Same as when you had your old tasks. If he wants to place some medium text, you just select it. Go out there and place some text. And put it on the screen. Same thing if he's looking for, I don't know, he's going to do some small, he's going to do a note. So it still works pretty much the same. It's going to bring up the suggested tool you use, and it's going to load up all the CAD detailing standards for modap. So if he wants to go out and place a sign, I believe it's kind of hard for me to tell. There we go. The traffic, maybe a traffic control sign. You could go into the traffic control sheets. Of course, then you have a couple different groups you can select from. Maybe he wants to assign to DBS. Yeah, that. Of course, you can go out and select which sign he wants now. And it's going to place that sign. So it's really similar to the tasks. It's just in a ribbon style now. If you guys want to go out there and mess with look through it a little bit, you can. We can give you a couple minutes if you need to. Chad can go out there and place a few more things.
Yeah, let's let them give them a few minutes, just kind of look through it and see where stuff is located at. And the structure of it is basically the same as what it is in the task, like what Randall was saying. So it should be pretty well self-explanatory on how it's set up.
If you want to place a dimension, you have your dimensioning pull down. Yep, under the notes. Of course, you don't have anything. Good job, Chad. You remember how to place a line.
Pretty square building, isn't it?
Sure. As you can see, he's placed a few things, and it's really similar to the tasks. I mean, set up the same way, the same groups.
I know you guys are probably going to cover this later, but
I seen that. I seen that.
Okay.
Chuck, yes, we do have that, and we will show that here in a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, we'll at least show you where you would run it from, at least for right now. We may change it a little bit, but we'll show you how to run it or where it can be used or run from.
Yeah. So. And we can kind of, while you guys are going through this, I can show, if Chad goes back to ProjectWise real quick. And open it. If he goes back under the seed files up towards the top, I think if you go under seed and expand design under miscellaneous, instead of storing that summary quantity sheet out in a library somewhere, it's under our standards now. So to get that generic summary of quantity sheet, that's where you would get it now.
Yeah, you could just take this Excel sheet and copy it to your project.
Correct.
Before we had it to where it was pulled from the K drive, but if we ever need to update it, we always got to contact IS, and you got to make sure your K drive is mapped. So from here on out, we're just going to save our default Quantab sheet underneath here. Of course, if you have one that you're currently using, I guess you could use it, but this is going to be the default one that we would prefer you to use whenever you start a new project. So you can just copy this to your project and do your quantities within Excel like normal. And like Chuck was saying in the chat there, he did find it. Let me dismiss those two. He did find it underneath the quantity sheets. Let me see if I can find that.
There.
Excel to Open Roads Designer. That's how, if you do have one that you had an Excel sheet and you already had it ran, and you click on that, you can go through there. And just to kind of show you, it won't work for you since you probably don't have one stored, but I think I messed around with it a couple of weeks ago. But if you click on that, it'll just have the X on your keyboard like right here, and then you just left click to place it. And then there's your quantities. Or another place that you can get to it is underneath the miscellaneous pull down, and you go to miscellaneous apps. That's another spot that you can grab it. So that functionality is still available in ORD, where you can do the Excel to MicroStation or Excel to ORD, same thing. You'll still have the ability to do that. Luckily, we got that particular application recompiled with Bentley to do that. They kind of balked on it at first, but we was able to persuade them to recompile that MDL for us. No problem, Chuck.
You think that's long enough for them to mess around with CAD standards there, Chad?
I think so.
And you guys can mess with this later today once you get going. But for now, we're going to move along. Let me see. Pretty much the last thing I have to talk about is the modap miscellaneous pull down, and Chad kind of did that really quick to get to the Quantab stuff. But it's up there at the top. It's called modap miscellaneous. Excuse me. This one's really handy for if basically you're in another if I'm in like the civil workflows, but I just need to go out there and draw a line or draw anything like a polygon. If I need to go out and draw a line real quick, I can just go to here, just go to linear elements, select place line. I'm going to bring up the place line tool. I can go out and place a line. You'll notice it's keeping me in my same workflows. I'm still in CAD Standards, so didn't change any of that. It's just a quick way to go out and use some of the old, basically main tools that MoDOT used to have. It's just a quick way to get to them. And then, like Chad said, that very last option has your Excel to MicroStation, or Open Roads Designer.
Yeah.
I want to say MicroStation all the time. And then Auto Turn and Taurus. I know a lot of you use Auto Turn.
Yep. That's where you'd have to, if you want to launch those, that's where you'd launch them through ORD right there.
Trying to think anything else before I move on to the sheet indexing, Chad. I don't think so. I mean, everything is, I mean, the layout's pretty much the same. You can turn on and off tools. Everything down at the bottom's pretty much looks identical. It's just going to take you guys a while to get used to the workflows and where those tools are located within those workflows.
That is correct.
That's going to be the big change for you guys. I mean, the tools work basically the same, and you're going to see some tools that are a little different today, but like, the place line tool is still the place line tool. It's not changing. Just in a little bit different spot. With that, I will go back and share my screen and talk about a few more slides, and then I'll hand it back over to Chad.
You want me to stop presenting then? We'll do that.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. This should be done.
All right. Can you see my PowerPoint again?
I can.
PowerPoint.
Yes.
So the next few things Chad's going to talk about here in a minute is we're going to go over the name boundary tool, which basically this is going to be used for composing the drawing models and the sheet models. And the sheet models will contain the border file for like creating your contract plans, production sheets. So it's going to have the border file in that, and we'll show you how to create some of these name boundaries, just like doing a typical section sheet. I believe later Bill's going to do some name boundaries using, I don't know what he's going to do, if he's going to do sheets or if he's going to do cross sections, but he'll show you how to use that tool a little bit later to do some of that.
All of it.
All of it? He'll do all of it?
Yeah.
And basically this tool replaces the plan profile sheet composition tool that was in SS10. So, but we're going to go through this in pretty big detail today. Chad's just going to show you how to go out there and place one. And then Bill later on is going to show you how to do some of the cross sections in the plan sheet. And after that, Chad's going to show you the sheet indexing. He did a little bit of this a few months ago, but we found out some things have changed. But sheet indexing is just a centralized and structured collection of sheet models. It's going to be useful for navigating between different sheet models quickly, or you can also have the option to print one or more sheet models at the same time through the sheet indexing. There were some things he showed earlier, but they don't work with create rendition, so we had to change a little bit of this, and I think he may talk about that when he's doing this. He's going to go over the sheet indexing. And the last thing he's going to go over, well, actually there's two more things. He's going to go over the printing and plotting. So the printing in OpenRoads Designer will consist of two options. Basically, you can either print the DGN files directly to the printer, or you can create a PDF and then print it outside of ProjectWise, or inside or outside of ProjectWise. And then the other option will be to create renditions inside of ProjectWise, but we don't have that option set up yet. I believe that will come at a later date. Chad's going to talk about drainage for just a minute. I think the drainage tools are basically the same as they were in SS10. But apparently there are some videos for the drainage tools available on our CAD Open Roads Designer YouTube channel. So if you want to look at those videos, drainage tool videos are out there now. And that's kind of it for mine and Chad's side of the PowerPoint. Of course, if you want to get to any of our YouTube videos, they are out there under the Open Roads Designer YouTube page. And we also have some support files out there, and you can get to all of that through our CAD SharePoint page. If I open that. And it did not go to our CAD. So basically, all of our videos, if I go out to CAD training, if I want links to our online videos, I can go there. And depending on what I'm wanting to look at, if I want to look at some of their Road 1 videos, I can go out there and open their playlist. And you can see they have all of their Open Roads Designer videos out here. So, that is just some of the locations of our support files. I believe Chad is going to show you how to do some name boundaries now. If you guys don't have any questions about any of the slides.
There's one in the chat there.
Yeah, I seen that. Can this link be set up? We could possibly modify that to where there's, I don't know if we could change it on the Bentley communities, but we could probably change it. We'd have to look at it, see if we could add something inside there to where it could point to that link.
Oh, inside of MicroStation?
Yeah.
Inside of ORD? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can do that. Put a few links out.
Or if you're in ORD, you can actually hit, I think it may be F2 or F3. Let me look here. If I go back to the settings and go to user function keys, I think if you hit F3, I think it goes to it. So
You
if
want to
I'm
share your screen, Chad?
Oh, sorry, darn it. That would help, wouldn't it?
Just saying.
My bad.
It does do that, Chad.
Yeah, so that would be another option. I mean, we have it set up to, let me go back just to kind of show everybody. If I go to File, Settings, User, and underneath the function keys, we have that set up to point to that location. So if I get out of here, make sure this is active, and I hit F3, it's automatically going to go to that spot. And then you can go to whichever playlist that you want to. It's the MicroStation tools, MicroStation platform tools, or if it's tours that you want to look at, or if it's the drainage stuff, you can get that location very quickly.
We'll need to modify that F2 because it doesn't go to the right place.
Where does it go? That probably changed.
Yeah, I think
that link up there changed, so I'll have to modify it. Okay, I'll write that down. F2. Okay. Thanks, Shannon. Okay. What I'm going to talk about next is the named boundary, how it's set up. I will also talk about the sheet index, and we'll talk about the printing. But we've been talking for about an hour and 15 minutes. So if it's okay with Kevin, let's go ahead and take about a 10-minute break. That way everybody can stretch and get a drink of water or whatever. And we'll start back up at 9:25.
Sounds good.
Okay, 9:25. We'll go ahead and start back up.